with Xavier nonchalant and Ray disturbed over the fact that she didn't call him a lovely, nothing much. Just the same forest, extending on for ages. She shrugs, shoving some sticks together with her foot. Who knows how far it could stretch? Griffin looks up to catch my eye. At the sight of me, his tight facial expression immediately relaxes and he smiles. Caught off guard, his infectious smile brings a smile of my own to my features. "Well, buddy," he says brightly, stepping forward, taking my hand into his own. "So glad to see you, well, buddy," I ask, sensing a burning gaze drilling into my back. Subconsciously I shiver. "You know, because we were in the well together. Get it?" He laughs. I stare at him pointedly. "Yeah, it's a bad name," Griffin says bashfully after he sees my expression. "But I like it, I don't want to talk about wells ever again." I groan, slipping my hand out of his. "But I appreciate the sentiment, whatever it is." Danae smiles at our exchange, and my gaze turns to her. "So it's morning, huh?" I ask, noting her youthful appearance. She smiles. "Most likely." Danae nods, and then wrinkles her nose. "Mona, you need a bath." "No offense, I've been dying to have one all morning." I mumble, casting a glance at Ray, who is snickering. "Well, let us not prevent you from doing so any longer." "Guys, leave," murmured groans echo from the group. Backing away. Yi was the first to leave, and the rest trailed behind. Xavier takes up the back, eyeing the others suspiciously. I watch until their bodies fade into the trees. "That was too easy," I say, narrowing my eyes. "I'll go keep them in check." Danae replies comfortingly. "And make sure they don't sneak over here. For right now, just focus on yourself. You've had a hard time so far, lovely." My nose crinkles at the use of such familiarity, but in some way it is almost relaxing to my ears. Something about the Fina makes me feel so welcome and safe. "Okay. I won't be long." I smile, and she disappears into the trees. Once again. I am completely alone. This could be my chance. This group is so gullible, and it would be so easy. Even as I think this, my mind flashes back to Ray's arms as he grabbed me, and the well as I fell inside. Seems like running away brings me nothing but trouble. And given that these fruits are the only nourishment we have seen so far, I could very well starve without the group's help. Quickly giving up on that possibility, I begin to remove the t-shirt around my waist. I nearly rip it in the process, but eventually it is strewn across the grass along with my other t-shirt. Feeling a sense of exhilaration, I lower myself into the pond, which is a strange crystal blue color that does not fit at all with its surroundings. The water caresses my skin, warmth spreading through my body and disarming me of all my defenses. I lean my head against the ground while soaking in the soothing waters. As I rest, I reflect on our time here. I remember that in the other world the pack consisted of Ray, Xavier, Yi, and 2 others. What were their names? Wes, right. And Drake, no, it's Jake. I envision the 2, wondering where they could possibly be. It's hard to picture them in my head, but I can barely make out Wes's golden locks and Jake's sparkling buzz cut. A pain strikes my heart, and alarm flickers across my features as I realize that I miss them. It really has been a whirlwind, a crazy journey from when I almost died in the forest until I almost died in a forest yet again. I lost track of time, but I am sure that it hasn't been too long since that time, a month, maybe 2, and seemingly shorter considering that sheer amount of events that occurred during the time period. I never considered myself an adventurer or even an interesting person, yet I have been lucky, or unlucky depending on how you look at it, enough to land in a ton of situations that have been eye-opening in a number of different ways. And it all started with Xavier, when he saved me from that monstrous hail. A certain haziness fills a gaping hole in my memory as I try to remember the events directly after that, such as how he introduced himself, how he came to my school. However, I somehow know it happened, and could remember certain scenes, such as when he was in my bedroom at the orphanage, and when he brought me steak in the lunchroom. I reminisce in the swirling memories, and a slight smile comes to my lips before I know it. As if suddenly realizing the depths of my emotions, I try to banish the feelings from my mind, yet they only grow stronger in response. It disconcerts me that there are things I can't remember, that things are foggy in my mind to such an extent. I wonder if there isn't any truth to the ramblings that the rest of my group had uttered when we first arrived. Maybe I'm the crazy one that's causing all the trouble. Maybe these people mean more to me than I realize. My head snaps up as I suddenly sense a presence around me. I can also hear shouting in the distance, probably Danae and Ray's voices. Who's there? I ask warily, trying to cover myself in the frustratingly clear water. I'm not looking, a low murmur reaches my ears. I promise. I twist in my position to see Xavier inching towards me, covering his eyes with the back of his hand. I try to feel irritation, but only curiosity enters my mind. I don't feel nearly as threatened as I should be. I just wanted to drop off your extra clothes that you left in the cave, he says, lowering the clothes onto the ground. I thought you might want them. They are dry now. His thoughtfulness surprises me in more ways than one. After only a few seconds, I sense nothing at all. He just left. I don't know if I was expecting anything, but something about the encounter just left me feeling a bit empty. After this series of continuously exciting events, this bath is turning out to be a bit anticlimactic. I probably should get out. So I don't make them wait too long. It's been a few minutes, and I feel thoroughly cleaned, both in body and in soul. I know it's a cliché, but it's been a long time since I have felt so relaxed. Putting my hands on the ground, I start to push myself out of the water. Right before I get out, I hear a sharp intake of breath, and I fall back into the pond. Suddenly shivering, I watch with alarm as Xavier jumps out of the trees, heading for some unknown location. He seems to circle some random area near the edge of the clearing, as if eyeing his prey, and pounces. A squeal erupts as Xavier grasps at air, almost as if locking it into an embrace. Xavier, that hurts. The air gasps. I think I'm about to have a heart attack. You can stop now, Xavier growls, now putting the air into a headlock. And no excuses. Suddenly a man starts to materialize, a wide grin on his face. As his face appears, I realize that the intruder is Yi. My eyes narrow into slits. It was a joke, Yi says laughingly. I was just passing by. Xavier says nothing, glaring at him with seemingly laser vision. Okay, Yi continues, maybe a bad joke. Look, Yi, we need to learn to trust each other, to feel safe with each other, and even though you think it's not a big deal, in this you are tearing down what everyone has worked to build up. Xavier grabs him and pulls him into the bushes. Sorry, Mona, he calls on his way out. Never once looking at me. I stare after him for who knows how long, while entertaining conflicting thoughts about him and the rest of the world, and then sink into the sparkling depths of the warm waters with exhaustion. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. So, what next? Ray asks, looking at all of our faces. We stare back, as clueless as he is. Silence reigns between us, and not even the sounds of insects or birds are heard. I shift restlessly in my seat on the dark gray rock. We need to find Wes and Jake, Xavier finally says with a commanding tone. I'm sure they are around here somewhere. So far, everyone has all been found within the same 10-mile radius. Maybe scouting out the rest of this area will prove fruitful, Danae says calculatively, staring at a notebook in her hand. We still have a lot we haven't covered. I say we look for water, I speak up forcefully. There isn't a limitless amount of food near that tiny little pond. No matter how filling the fruit is. And if on that journey we find Wes and Jake, great. If we don't, we can always go back and look for them with a significantly higher chance of survival on both sides. I can see Yi and Griffin nodding after my suggestion. Xavier just looks back at me with displeasure. I think Mona is right. Let us just gather up all our resources and all the fruit on those bushes, and head towards the outskirts of the forest. Ray says firmly. Is there even an end to this forest? Danae asks wonderingly. Her question marks a similar concern for all of us. Are we really here just to die in this empty wasteland? Why are we even here, anyways? I think back to the dozens of visions I have had over the past month, searching for some clue to lead us on the right path. Castle doors, tall mountains, and endless forests flash before my eyes. I do remember seeing an ocean or lake of some kind before, but where was it? After pondering hard, I point to the north of us. It's that way, what? Ray asks, looking at me with a dubious expression. Water. I figure that since we are at the base of the mountains, the lake should be directly north of here. Although I don't know how far away it is, I can feel all of the eyes on me, making me fidget uncomfortably. How do you know that? Ray shoots back, and then abruptly stands up from his position on the fallen log. In fact, do you know something about how we got here in the first place? And what here even is? He steps closer to me, and I shake involuntarily. Ray, Xavier stands up and puts his hand in front of Ray to gently push him away from me. Don't be so overbearing. She can take too much at once. No, Xavier, he brushes past him, flinging aside his arm. I think Mona owes us some answers, and that we need them now. When he looks at me, his green eyes glowing with barely contained intensity, a strange fear grips my heart. You rewrite. I acknowledge. So you can sit down now, and I promise I will share everything I know. He stares at me for a minute, and then returns to sit on the log. Xavier sits down as well, and I can sense his gaze. Knowing he is looking at me gives me the jitters in my stomach, for some unknown reason. For quite some time now, I have been seeing visions. Usually they are about people. Some sort of elite group that lives in a tall castle, but some give me views of the world beyond the castle. Based on what I've seen up to this point, I believe that we have landed in the world of my visions. Given the conversations I've witnessed, I also think that this world is not a physical world, but exists in some sort of spiritual sense, and is also the home of the shifters. What the Yi curses under his breath, and the rest of the group reacts similarly. Ray in particular is looking both confused and almost annoyed, rubbing his knuckles together in a worried fashion. What did you hear? Ray asks, but his voice is quickly drowned out by the others. Everyone comes forward with questions at once. Mona, what do you mean by saying this world isn't physical? Griffin queries while rubbing the bark on the log. Looks pretty real to me, just what I said. I believe that this is the spirit world. Kinda similar to what we have heard about heaven or hell. Except this is obviously much different. I speak, sounding much more confident than I feel. I mean, there's shifters absolutely everywhere. There seems to be no other explanation. Last time I checked, we were in that dark room in headquarters. Yi comments. Even if this is the spirit world, how in the world could we have ended up here? Unless we re-dead. No. I don't think we are. I assert, standing up from my perch. I cast a glance at the sky, which is still covered in heavy fog and thick clouds. I think, somehow, I transported us here. And don't ask me how, because I honestly have no clue. The group breaks into chatter, with everyone talking among themselves. Strangely relieved by finally sharing what has been within my head for quite some time. I tilt my head to let the mist embrace me, dancing across my jawline and chilled skin. My eyes close, and I let my senses encompass my entire body, trying to feel everything around us. I don't understand how this is not a physical world when we can feel things, and we all still retain our bodies. Danae says hesitantly. How can you be so sure? I am not. I open my eyes with new focus and clarity. It is time to test out the conjectures I have made, seeing if it is possible once and for all. Just let me see. Xavier quickly stands behind me as I close my eyes again. Are you okay? He murmurs softly into my ear. My heart starts beating like a drum, distracting me from the swirl of thoughts I am trying to create. Xavier, stay there. I command, all the while thinking of words concerning pain. Strike. Blood. Hurt. Ache. Stab. Destroy. As I let the words boil within me, a spirit spear begins to materialize in my hand. Except this time, it isn't a spear, but a miraculous, sparkling sickle. It looks deadly, with a sharp curve and pointed tip. I marvel at the size of it, and the feeling of power that it gives me. I look out among the group, and I can tell none of them can see the weapon. They are only staring at me in confusion. I somehow know that now is the time. Please work. I beg as I bring down the sickle upon a nearby tree with all of my might. Collective gasps erupt from everyone, and then we all look in stunned silence. Myself more than anyone else. Quite honestly. Move. Xavier jumps and pushes me out of the way as the tree comes crashing towards the ground, hitting it with a resounding thump. In the process, my sickle falls from my hands and lands on Xavier. No, the correct phrase would be that it seemed to melt on Xavier, dissolving into nothingness as soon as it hit both him and the ground. I am on my hands and knees now, covered in dirt. Deprived of the strength to move, I just stay in my exact position. But once I finally look up, I find that once again I am the center of attention. I turn my head laboriously towards the falling tree, seeing the clean cut where the tree had been severed from its trunk. After a few more seconds of this awkward silence that seems to be the norm among our group, Griffin speaks up. So north, *****. We have been trekking for endless days, and short nights. It seems at the beginning like every step is leading towards deliverance, yet when I lose that hope towards the evenings it seems like we are only walking farther away from our goals. We try to rest. But I am just too anxious. So far we have seen nothing, and no one, except the shifters. Even them I only catch sight of once or twice, and only at a glance, as if they are trying to hide from us. It is strangely disconcerting to see the shifters running from us, like we are the villains in all of this. I guess in their point of view, we may be. To try and pass the time while both walking and running. I practice making weapons. After lots of experimenting, I have figured out that the weapons won't hurt tangible people, but will affect the world around us. I was scared to try it before, but now I realize it is necessary for both our survival and for an even higher purpose that none of us may even realize yet. Already I get the feeling in my heart that we are supposed to be traveling towards the water, because the water is close to the castle. And the castle is the key to everything at the center of the uncertainty. For there must be a reason for why we have landed here. There must be a reason for why I have been seeing all of these crazy visions. There must be a reason for why my heart can't stop beating every time I see a blue-haired werewolf's face. Well, that might be totally unrelated. But not really. I think, maybe he is the one at the center of everything, because he certainly occupies most of my thoughts. I just can't keep myself from wanting to brush his hair out of his eyes, and to just stare into them to my heart's content. I always have the urge to touch him, to trace his cheek or shamefully his lips. Even when I am thinking about other things, the incumbent desire is always there, ready to distract me at every turn. And just like before, in the cave, I just about can't take it anymore. I've tried everything. Distancing myself. Talking to Ray and Griffin, and even making myself keep my eyes downwards at all times so I wouldn't have to look at him. But by this point, at which 4 long days have come and gone, I know that there is no use. The madness is overwhelming, and will continue to be until I do something about it. I remember the shame of his rejection at the cave, but now it is almost like a distant memory, faded from the intensity of my brewing emotions. The strange thing about all this inner turmoil I have been having for quite a while now, and the one factor that makes absolutely no sense to me in the context of my emotions, is that he isn't different from the others. Everyone treats me politely except for Yi, who's a jerk, and in particular Griffin makes me feel warm and safe whenever I am near. They all have the same eyes, besides Griffin and Danae, with the exact same intensity and sheer beauty. All of the men are also undeniably attractive physically in their own way, and I can't really rank any of them above the other on an objective standpoint. But at the same time, he's not like the others. And I have grown to realize this over the awkward silences and boring chatter that does nothing to stop me from facing the truth. And the truth is I am tired, desperate, and hungry, in both the literal and figurative sense. Which is why I am so gracefully stumbling over to Xavier's side as the world lies in slumber, waiting for the new day to come. "Xavier," I whisper, crouching down and touching his shoulder. Even this feels invigorating, in all the wrong ways. I am inwardly both repelled and fascinated by my thoughts at this moment, especially after a particularly dreary period of time. His eyes flicker open, and I slowly gesture for him to follow me. He just stares back at me while blinking, and I soon grow impatient with him. Quickly I back into the trees, retreating until I am one with the night. A slight crunch of the leaves echoes behind me, and I know he is not too far behind. Once I feel like we are far enough away so that we can talk quietly, I stop and lean against a pretty intimidating, monster-like tree. Mona Xavier groans as he reaches me, probably still half asleep. Why, I don't know why I find his sleepy expression so cute, and I don't plan on finding out at the moment. We need to talk, at this. Xavier's head snaps up and he shakes himself out of sleep. He blinks a few times, and then gives me his full, undivided attention. I feel strangely pressured by his stare, like I don't want to disappoint him after I just woke him up during our precious nap time. Is it about you apologizing for flirting with Griffin and Ray every single second of the day? Because you're going to have to do much more than drag me out here in the middle of the night for me to forgive you." He snaps a little bit, obviously just a little bit grumpy. Flirt. What in the— Don T even try to deny it. You were doing that on purpose to make me angry. Xavier's cheeks color a little bit, his eyebrows tilted in annoyance. Although disconcerted myself, I watch his expressions with interest. All I wanted was to avoid you. I say softly, eyes downcast. At this Xavier's eyes widen. And then a bitterness enters his features. So he slowly states, "What changed?" A silence stretches between us as I try to figure out how to phrase my next words. I soon give up, unable to make much coherent sense. I don't understand. I choke, sliding down the tree onto the ground. I just don't get it. When I look up from my hands, Xavier is right there, gazing into my soul with those eyes of his. You don't get what? He asks me gently. His hand brushes against my own, bringing warmth and comfort along with it. I hastily try to regain my composure. You should be the same as them. Xavier. You really should be nothing more to me than the means to an end, as them. You mean Griffin and the other guys here, yes. You were one of the pack back at home, the man who saved my life and made me feel both irritated and comfortable, often at the same time. But that doesn't explain all of the strange feelings I have been having since we have gotten here towards you, and I just don't understand what happened. Xavier just stares at me, as if silently processing my words. So you feel attracted to me, but you don't get why you feel it towards me and no one else, right? My expression brightens a bit. Maybe he gets it. Maybe he can help me get out of this mess, or just talk some sense into my stupid heart. He thinks for a while, and I watch the skies shift into a deep navy blue, with a soft, muted white orb crossing the horizon. Hope blossoms in my chest in the prospect of relieving this curse of mine. And even if nothing happens, it's great that I don't have to pretend anything anymore. I can finally get this out of the way so that I can look towards a hopefully brighter future. This is not what I imagined. Xavier says finally, sighing reluctantly. Although I had a clue when you kissed me the other night that you were searching for something, I blush, about as red as a tomato. Are you toying with me? I ask, my voice uncannily high. My blush deepens at this, embarrassing me even more. I look away in shame. I knew this was a bad idea. But then I feel a hand on my chin, lifting my face with effortless grace. When I see him again, he is right in front of me, much closer than before. Mona, he says in a low, husky voice, his breath dancing on my cheeks. I'll give you what you want. His pupils look dilated, infused with desire. My pulse quickens as I watch his other hand head towards my cheek, and then travel down to the nape of my neck. But you have to promise me something. What? I ask as Xavier's face looms ever closer. His eyelashes are almost brushing my cheeks, and his hands are filling me with both incredible warmth and insatiable desire. You must promise to surrender yourself to me. Entirely. He says this with such temptation, each word melting like honey from his lips. If you don't do this, then you must leave now while you still can. My heart nearly bursts out of my chest. Surrender. There is something about the word that is so sensuous, exploiting my senses and overturning my defenses until I am only a puddle onto the ground. Under normal circumstances I would never stand for it. I would abhor the word, and if it were an object I would throw it on the ground and stomp on it with my feet. I like to think I am a strong person, who is independent and can think for myself, and to surrender is to become subject to another's will. It is an impossible request. My pride would never. His lips brush against my forehead, trailing down my nose with breathtaking passion. I want you to be mine. He whispers, drawing back to look me in the eye. Just say the word. He waits for me, watching my reaction. Completely under his spell, I murmur, yes. It is as if I am helpless to my own selfish cravings, a slave to the passion I wasn't even supposed to have in the first place. Instantly after my response our lips meet with furious desire, and Xavier takes his hands away from my face only to grab my arms and push me roughly against the forest floor. It is at these moments when I realize just how powerless I really am. Say my name. Mona, he whispers forcefully in between kisses, nibbling at my earlobe and then bringing his lips towards my collarbone. Yearn for me. Our breathing is heavy, even frantic as we scramble to fulfill each other's passions. My lips are covered again, and I drown in ecstasy. Too late to back down. Too early to give up. I have no thoughts. I am experiencing a feeling probably, but it is too hard for me to even describe, stretching beyond both words and expressions. Xavier is kissing me, and I never thought it would ever feel quite this good. Good is a pretty overused term, used to explain tons of different emotions and is placed in many contexts, but in this case the word should be taken as a mere placeholder for a reality so undefinable that I wish it would last forever. Something so strange and beautiful loses its impact through communication. Which goes for many things, and can only be delivered through experience. It is almost like the one time when I was a little girl, and my parents took me to the beach for the first and last time in my life. I remember standing there, my feet sinking into the pure white sand, in awe of the magnificence surrounding me. I could taste the hint of salt on my tongue, the wind caressing my tiny body. The sun would cast its glow upon me, making me feel like an angel bathed in holy light. And the water felt so cold, so refreshing, that I just wanted to simply dissolve and become nothing, emptying my mind so I could be immersed in the beauty. So I could etch that moment into my memory, and never forget it for the rest of my life. In many ways, this moment resembles my other inexplicable experiences, but in other ways it takes me beyond a mere wish or desire. Yes, it feels wonderful, unlike a kiss ever should, but the urgency of my emotions shock me more than anything else. I am in a frenzy, willing to do anything to keep intensifying the experience, for lack of a better term. There is more to my life that I must consider, but strangely all of those considerations have flown away. It is like nothing matters anymore, except for this. There is some sense of nostalgia that comes with this as well, something that bothered me last time I kissed him. It feels so real, but it is almost ethereal as well, like we are not only connected through our lips both through our souls as well. And even though it should be, it isn't a new feeling at all. I get a small sense of it every time I look at him, every moment that he enters my thoughts. It just makes me wonder where on earth it is coming from. The only thing that makes sense is that there might be some truth to the words of my companions concerning Xavier and I's past relationship. That my memory was wiped, along with strange markings that should be on my body. That everything I believe about myself during this time has been a lie, and I am actually a big softie with a hard shell. I don't want to believe that Xavier is mine, or do I even now? The thought causes butterflies in my stomach, and I let out an involuntary moan. Shish, Xavier whispers in a low, husky voice. Do you want the rest of them to hear you? My eyes open, and I stare at him, thinking about nothing and everything at the same time. Don't look at me like that, he says softly, leaning in and kissing my brow bone. His lips touch my eyelids, trailing down my nose and cheeks. I can't help but wonder, as I look at his face, what he could possibly be thinking. He seems so calm and measured, tearing my defenses with accuracy and not wasting a single movement. Has he ever lost himself? I find myself wanting to know the answer more than anything else. A warmth touches my lips, and I feel my bottom lip being gently bitten as he teases my mouth open. As soon as I do so, his tongue pushes in, and I am taken with surprise. So there is more to everything, and I want it all. This should be really gross. I would never imagine a guy's tongue in my mouth a day ago, or even a week ago. In the logical side of my brain, it's all just really weird. Tongues are for eating and communicating. Mouths in general are for eating and communicating. Those human body parts have no other use, and should only be used in those given purposes. But now the sun has set, and the brightness of the moon has risen over the dark landscape. It is a new world out there, one full of mystery and enigmas with neither sense nor reason. His face leaves mine, a hair's breadth away from my lips, and his eyes flick upwards towards mine. We look at each other, and he smirks slightly. A flicker of annoyance flashes through my thoughts, but he kisses me before I can think of anything else. You, he murmurs as we take a second to breathe. You know, because I haven't done that in quite a while. He straightens from where he was leaning over me. Some strange expression on his face. I sit up as well, an uneasiness in my heart. Xavier, tomorrow, he says roughly. Turning his head away. We can continue tomorrow, what are you saying? I ask him, my voice uncannily high. This is not how things are supposed to work. You mine, and I can do whatever I want with you. Which is why you are going to meet me tomorrow night. He finally turns and looks at me, his eyes sparkling like emeralds. I feel a little uncomfortable under his steady gaze. But why not now? I sound so tiny, surrounded by such an empty wasteland. I don't want you to disappear. Mona. Every day I want the guarantee that you still want me, and that you won't run away. So it has to be this way, and know it doesn't. Xavier, please. I touch his arm, but he shakes me off almost robotically. Mona. I am sorry, but we both need to get some rest. I am not going to bend on this. I stand up, feeling as if I was hit by a moving train. My knees start to wobble, and they almost buckle down the small hill.